Welcome to Changing the Game, where bold leaders, rule breakers, and trailblazers drop the playbook and share how they lead, win, and shake things up. Today, I'm joined by Jocelyn Disque, Vice President at Touchdown PR and a former Division I volleyball player who's built her career at the intersection of sports, communications, and technology. After starting out in collegiate athletics, Jocelyn transitioned into public relations, where she now leads teams and helps brands and leaders communicate with purpose in an era shaped by tech and AI. Her impact hasn't gone unnoticed. Jocelyn was named a 2023 Women in Business nominee by the Austin Business Journal and is also a 2020 AVCA Grant Berger Media Award honoree for NCAA Division I women's volleyball. In this conversation, we'll talk about her transition from sports to communications, what it takes to build confidence through career pivots, and how she's using innovation to change the game for the next generation of storytellers. Jocelyn's journey is a masterclass in reinvention, and I'm so excited to have her here with me today. Welcome, Jocelyn.
I'm so excited to be here, Jordan.
I'm so happy you're here, Joss. Just so everyone is aware, I got to give a little backstory on us too. We played for 1 year together at Central Michigan volleyball. Her career there lasted a little bit longer than mine did. I transitioned after 1 year, and that's a whole nother story. We won't go down that road today, but I'm super pumped that we have this opportunity to reconnect.
Yeah, no, I am too. And honestly, we actually had pretty similar paths because I transferred into Central. So I wasn't there much longer before you.
Yeah, and remind me, were you at Central for 2 years or were you there for 3?
So I did 3. I was at North Dakota State first for 2, redshirted my freshman year, medical redshirted. I had a catheter ablation in my heart. And redshirted my freshman year, which again, this is not the topic of this discussion, but it's part of my career journey. So I had, like Thanksgiving of my freshman year of college, I had a catheter ablation. I wasn't able to play or be an athlete that entire career or that season, basically, because I got put on beta blockers and you can't let your heart rate get up high. And then in my second year, basically, I could just never get in shape. And so ultimately had a decision with the coach who was like, hey, do you want to be here? What do you want to do? And I was like, well, I need to be on scholarship to be able to afford school. So if I need to start looking, please let me know. And that's ultimately when I started looking. I ended up at Central. Turns out the reason I couldn't get in shape is I was severely anemic. And so shout out to the athletic trainers at Central Michigan, because they were like, something's not right. You're bruising incredibly bad, all of this stuff. So then my first year at Central, I had severe anemia. And then finally, in my second and third years at Central, they went a little better. So that is, we'll get to this question later, but that is one of my life pain points.
Yeah. Okay. No, now that you're saying this, it's coming back to me. I remember the anemic struggles actually that first year that I was there, and we were both there at the same time, I guess, our year. So
yeah, your freshman year, you came in.
Yep.
My first year. Yeah, we were freshmen together, but I was a third year college.
Yes. Exactly. Okay, I remember this all. Tell me, okay, I did not know about the heart.
Yeah.
Can you please say that again?
Yeah, so I had a catheter ablation. Turns out I had a thing called supraventricular tachycardia, where basically I had an extra electrical current in one of the ventricles of my heart. And the doctors at North Dakota State were not comfortable letting me play. They were like, we need our people to look at you. We need all of this to happen. And so they did. And then their doctors put me on beta blockers. And once you're in a beta blocker, you cannot raise your heart rate. You cannot do physical activity. So for an entire fall, I was not allowed to work out. I was not allowed to train until I had this procedure done. And it's not invasive, but what they do is they put a camera and then basically a cauterizer wire in through the veins in your legs.
Oh my God.
It goes all the way up into your heart. And so they saw it and then they cauterized it. And then I just ended up being fine. But then like after all of that, then the next year I was like trying to get back in shape after not being able to do anything for so long. And then it was preseason at Central. Like I was cramping really bad. I was bruising terribly. And I think you remember Mindy, our trainer, she was like, I think you are anemic. And I was like, okay. And so then they sent me in to get my blood tested, and I had 1/14 of the amount of iron you're supposed to have in your blood, in my blood. So I had to go on 3 iron supplements a day. It was either go on 3 iron supplements a day or get a blood transfusion. And then eventually got my blood count up to where it was supposed to be. It took a while. But yeah, that was all within like a 3-year window of my like original college experience.
Jocelyn, that's crazy. And the old habits die hard. I'm going to slip up and call you Joss a few
No,
times.
you're fine.
Jocelyn, that's like, athletes already deal with a lot of uncertainty. I feel like, in a lot of like, it's just, you learn how to battle as an athlete. But like, what was your mindset like going through that? Like, from when you're faced with the decision, like, I don't know where my future lies in volleyball, and then having to like overcome all these health issues. I guess, how did you make it through that time period?
I just did. I'm gonna be honest, like it's so long ago, and honestly, so much of it, I kind of like pushed out of my brain for like mental health purposes to just like not like think about it anymore. But in reality, like I knew I wanted to play volleyball, and I knew I was going to play volleyball. And I also knew that like I needed to get I was never not going to get my degree. And volleyball was the avenue to do that for me. And so there really never in my mind was like, this is not going to happen. It was a struggle, obviously. Like the whole, like, there's a lot of other things at play also in college life, college athlete life on top of all of that. But it honestly set me up to be able to relate to a lot of people in college athletics. So like transitioning out of college, like once I was done with my playing career, I did an internship at Central with the athletic communications department, and then continued to pursue athletic communications in the university. But you're getting to meet so many athletes who have also experienced hardships or experienced these different things. And ultimately, in sports storytelling, that's where a lot of the good stories lies, in the hardships and who overcame them. And like I've been able to, like, throughout that time, just like make really good relationships with athletes because of that. In my first year at like Penn State, there's an athlete, his name is Grant Ament. He like went through a terrible ankle injury, and like because I had been through so much like athletic career like situations and like hardships myself, it was like very easy to relate to him and like be able to be like, hey, like I'm here for you, like we are not going to let the media touch you, like this is where it's going to go, this is like how we're going to handle it. And then his next year, when he was healthy again, it was like about being able to tell that like redemption, like I'm back, here I am story. And it's just like such a cool experience. And then like similarly, when I was at Texas, this sticks in my head as like one of my first like memories of working there. It was photo day. Like every athletics team has media day. Like they get to take their team photos, like the fun, like action shots, all this kind of stuff. And I'm working with Asia O'Neill, who she had redshirted her freshman year. And this was her first year really getting to take the pictures, and we were trying to get good action shots. And if you know anything about volleyball, an action photo, a posed action photo of volleyball is one of the hardest things to not look tacky. Like they will look so tacky. But she was a slide hitter. Like that's like her nickname following her final career. Like she left college as the slide queen. My thing was hitting slides. So I was like, this is how I was like, this is the pose and the body like positioning I need you to be in for this shot, all this stuff. But like while I'm like teaching her like how to do this, I was like, oh yeah, like I played, like I loved hitting slides. And so she was like, this is like how I know what you're supposed to do. And I was like, oh yeah, like happened to like mention that like I had a catheter ablation, whatever, for my heart. And she was like, oh my gosh, when she was 7, she had open heart surgery.
Wow.
And then again, like a year later, like her story's like all over.
I remember seeing her on ESPN, a story on her open heart surgery.
And so that was after I had left Texas. She did that story, but like she became so comfortable like with herself and who she is, and to be able to tell those stories. And that's like honestly just like the storytelling angle I loved, and being able to relate my personal experiences to these athletes who had way bigger platforms than we ever had. Like we did not have social media. We did not, we had it, but it was not like real for any sort of promotional purposes.
Yeah.
Like we didn't have like we were not being featured on ESPN. No one cared about my story, but when people care about the story, it's a lot more fun to tell.
Totally. And Jocelyn, you mentioned so many amazing themes that I just love about athletes. Like you said early on, athletes, I just got it done. I think that's so huge. And then, you learn so much from your setback. It can teach you as much as being successful in your sport. Did you always know that you wanted to go into storytelling, go into working in communications and athletics, or was this just kind of like an opportunity that presented itself and you were just like, wow, I could be really good at this. I love this.
Yeah. So I did always know I wanted to work in sports. Both my parents were high school coaches. Like I was around in the gym since I was like, literally, like my mom has pictures of me in a ball cart at her high school practices. Like I was getting pushed around the gym. What I thought I wanted to do was dietetics and nutrition for athletes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not good at science and I am not good at math. So that went out the door very quickly. I've always liked writing. I've always liked storytelling. And then when I was at Central, our assistant coach at the time, Dave, we'd be like sitting at like team dinner or whatever, and there'd be like a game on, and I'd be like, oh, did you know so-and-so had like X amount of points and did this sort of thing? And he just looks at me, he literally is like, okay, ESPN, like, what are you doing? And I was like, what? That's just like the type of information I retain.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, you should really look at being an SID, which is a sports information director. And that's ultimately like how I was like, oh, that's a job. And it's the person who runs the back ends of sports websites. So like cmuchippewas.com or Go Penn State or Go PSUsports.com. Like those websites are being updated and run, and like the content is being filled by the media relations team, the sports information director. Those roles have really evolved over the time of like now social media, like TV landscape, all that kind of stuff. And it depends on your level. But long story short, yes, I knew I wanted to be sports. No, yeah. I didn't know that role even existed until I like learned about it. And then I was like, oh, I could do this. That would be fun. And then that's when I started like shadowing our people at Central.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. I have a question for you too on the topic of how the landscape has evolved. What would you say for anyone listening who says, wow, that does sound interesting, like that maybe matches my skill set? What do they need to know? Like, what are the most important things that they need to know how to do to be successful in an SID role today?
Yeah, I think writing is one of the big things. And I think that is going to be an even more valued commodity as AI becomes a hotter tool.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, yes, you could put in the game box score into ChatGPT and be like, hey, write me 3 paragraphs on the story of this game so I can put it on my website. It'll give you something, but that something isn't going to have the real like nuts and bolts of what you watched in the game. Like it's not going to know that John Doe like was throwing up in the trash bucket at the end and then came in and sank 2 game-winning free throws. Like it's not going to know that. You as the person on site are going to know that, and you're going to know that like that was a key pivotal moment in this game. You need to be able to like tell that to the fans. The fans
Yeah.
want that, like, we're all fans of something, right? Like you want that like juicy insider knowledge to be like, oh my God, yeah, that was so cool. Like that guy's the guy because he was able to like be sick and make those buckets to help us win the game.
Yeah, it's like the human highs and lows is what attracts us to sports in the first place. So you have to be able to convey that. That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your journey then through working in sports, and then ultimately you decided to transition out of the sports world. So what was that journey like for you?
Yeah. So I worked at, I started my internship at Central Michigan in my senior year. I did both semesters. I was basically like a student SID. I covered track and field my senior spring. After that, I went on to a school called Tennessee Tech University. It's in Cookeville, Tennessee. And then was there for a couple years, transitioned to St. Leo University, which is a Division II school just outside of Tampa, Florida. Again, there for a couple years. There, I got to work with, they had 21 sports, and I got to work with almost all of them, including new sports like lacrosse, which I was not familiar with at the time. Turned out to love lacrosse. And the an opening at Penn State happened where it was men's lacrosse and women's volleyball. And to go from a D2 school to big time program like Penn State, Big Ten, has Big Ten Network, is on ESPN, all that kind of stuff, it took a really big adjustment because you went from working a lot of hours and understanding the sports to being like, oh, this is like a different element of like, I need to be TV ready. The TV broadcasters are relying on the stories I'm telling them to help add color to the game when you're listening. They want to know what big stats are, like career records are coming up, all this kind of stuff. And so it was a pretty big transition, but I would say my experience as an athlete really helped there because I got to work with Russ Rose, who's the greatest volleyball coach of all time. Like
Legendary.
7 national
Yeah.
titles, like unbelievable. I have like little bobbleheads of him all around my office, like all this memorabilia. But the big thing for him was like, he was like, I need someone who knows volleyball. Like, I need someone who can like help tell the story and is going to understand like the important things of my team and my program. And then I also, because my, like, it was like, it's very hard to explain, but there's a lot of like interconnected people in volleyball as well. Like, it's a very small community, like
Yeah.
around America, like the whole community, not just like the people you know, like everyone knows everyone. And
Yeah.
so they ultimately all were like, oh, like we know she knows her stuff. And it also ended up being super cool because the seniors that year were like played against and with my sister. So like I knew them from when they were little kids as well. So I got like it just was like a great experience to be there. But it was a really big transition because like I was saying, like you go from working a ton of games at a D2 level where you're just going to like, okay, I don't have as many games, but I have way more game notes. I have way more stories to tell. I have way more people who want to hear the stories because the platform is so much bigger, to really being able to pivot there. And then my husband is from Pennsylvania, and ultimately we were like, he's like, I've been here a really long time.
Yeah.
I would like to move, and we would like to move.
Something new.
Yeah, well, and back to someplace warm after living in Tampa, Florida. And the Texas volleyball job opened up, and again, had people that knew my experience, knew my skill set, to help me move along there. And then I was at Texas for 1 year, and then COVID hit. And during that summer of COVID, I really started to realize, like, as much as I love sports, if I like, my husband also is in sports, so that's part of like the timing and lifestyle dynamic of having two people running around, being everywhere. If we wanted to like have a family, like ultimately, like I was getting a little burnt out, and we'd probably need one of us to change. And I just started like looking at different roles and where like my skill set could be applicable. I had no idea what I was doing, but it was the summer of COVID, so there was not a lot happening. So I had a lot of downtime to really just be like, well, let me fill out this application or let me fill out this application. And ultimately ended up at a communications agency called Bloom Communications to get my first like foot in the door into corporate.
Yeah. I again, like so many amazing themes that I feel like come up on this show a lot, but it's so important because I think a lot of us when we're transitioning in our careers, whether it's like from college to your professional career
Mhm.
or whether it's from one industry to another, it's really easy to look at other people and say like they have it all figured out. But like you got these opportunities to learn and
Mhm.
you ran with it and you did a good job and your work spoke for itself. So you were able to make those moves and transitions because you did good work and you learned a lot while you were in each position. And I just think like you never know where that next opportunity is going to come from, and so you just learned as much as you could in each stage. So yeah, really powerful. What advice would you give to somebody who is maybe transitioning industries like you had to? Um, it's kind of scary to make a leap. Like, what would you tell them?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is it is scary. Embrace that. Like,
Yeah,
it's not going to be easy, and you need to go in knowing that. But the one thing I was thinking about, with this question is, like, what is your intention for change? Like, are you burnt out? Or are you like, if is it financial? Like, what is your intention for change? Make sure you know that answer because that will drive what you're looking for in your change. And then like also figure out what you love about your current role because that'll also drive then what types of roles you look for.
yeah.
And then pairing it together to ultimately find that answer.
That's really great advice. Like knowing your intention is so important, or you're just going to be chasing your tail a little
Yeah.
bit.
Well, and, like, honestly, like, even if it is just financial, that's okay, but, like,
Yeah,
know that. So then know that you might not be happy per se and, like, in a job you love, but if it's like, if you're like, "Yeah, I really just, like, need to hit this salary to be happy,"
right.
know that, and then embrace it and go for it.
Yeah, it's like knowing your non-negotiables. Like my
Yep,
non-negotiable is going to be salary, so maybe I have to be a little bit more flexible on like PTO or like just or industry or things like that.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
that and I think you you are so good at storytelling because of your experience, but I think a lot of candidates have a hard time, especially athletes, like when you're green going into your new role, a lot of athletes have a hard time explaining why their experience mattered
Yep.
in terms that a hiring manager understands your value too. So, do you have any advice to any athletes who are transitioning into professional careers on how they can communicate their worth well?
Yeah, honestly, I think that's a great time to turn to AI. Like, if you don't know how to explain what your internship, what your practice load, what your time management experience means in this job description, if you're looking at the job description, you're like, I do that, but like the words don't align. Put the
Right.
job description into ChatGPT, Claude, whatever you want to use, put it in there, and then type out all of the things you have experience for and be like, I go to practice 3 different like your time management, like whatever, put that in, put in study hall, put in this experience I had with this camp. Like say I'm working camps. That's what a lot of student athlete experience ends up being, right? Is camps.
Yep.
You're managing people, you're managing younger people, you're managing practice time, you're managing skills. Put that all in and then ask ChatGPT to be like, hey, like what percentage of this job description do my skills overlap with? And how do I explain that to a hiring manager? See what it comes out with, and then turn it into your own words. Like phrase it the way you want to say it, but use these tools that exist for free or pay the $20 a month or whatever it is to
Yeah.
just upgrade a little and like find the answer. Like, don't think of it as cheating. Think of it as a tool and a resource at your disposal.
Yeah. I'm so with you. I love AI as a tool for
Mhm.
that reason. Like that is perfect advice. It's just like put the human element back
Yep.
into it. And you are so passionate about AI. So switching gears just kind of a little bit, just looking ahead for how this is going to evolve over the next few years. How do you think AI or automation or technology is going to change your work or the way brands build relationships with audiences?
Honestly, it's hard to even say a year ahead. Like, it is changing every day. Like, there's updates, there's new prompts, there's new like prompt ideas. My coworkers and I were just looking. We have a client who detects deep fakes. And
Oh,
we found
wow.
super cool. It's super cool. But we found an article from a year ago that was about deepfake detection, like deepfake technology detection technology. Sorry, deepfake technology. This is a mouthful. And in this article from a year ago, they have photos that are AI. They look like drawings. Like, we literally were like, I can see that is not real people.
Right.
Look now, and there's actors, actresses, AI influencers that look real. So that is like like I was like, that is a year's worth of change is going from like basically just a comic, like a really well done
Yeah.
comic, to you or I could be hosting this podcast with like an AI like face, but like you couldn't tell. Like, the technology has improved that much that you just like don't know. And so it's like so crazy to think about where we could be, that I think the biggest thing is everyone just needs to embrace the everyday. Like,
Yeah.
what is in front of you today and how can you utilize it to be better for tomorrow? Don't think like 100 years down the road, because it's going to be different. The jobs available are going to be different. The opportunities for like use cases are going to be different. So my biggest thing is like every day I'm like, oh, how do I approach it today? Because
Yeah.
changes have happened.
That's really scary to think about.
I know, it's crazy. It's like actually crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of it's insane. I can't even fathom it. Just so everyone's aware, I am real, and so is Jocelyn. I've met her in person, so we are not AI. But it is crazy how fast things are changing now, and I feel like it's just going to get faster and faster and
Yeah.
faster.
Well, and like you were saying, for job seekers, like it's something HR is worried about.
Right.
Is
Yeah.
that like deep fake personality thing, and that's just one side of it. Another whole side is like having almost like there's a way you can use Copilot to like, what if you're doing an interview, right, that you have it up and it's hearing the interview and responding to the questions and you just have to read it. So like,
That's
if you're, yeah, it is crazy, but you also can like, you as a person in the interview should be like, oh, I can tell that person's just like reading what AI is telling them. Like,
yeah.
and so like your real advantage is being the person, be the human, like be okay making a mistake, but having that like authenticity and like emotion and like heart to be like, look, like I understand that I might not be 100% for this job or 100% right on these answers, but like know that I as a human will give you 100% every time, every day.
Yep. Yep. AI can never replace the
Yep.
human connection. It can never replace the effort and the heart that you put in.
Yep.
I'm 100% on that same page as you, and I think that's what is so important for hiring moving forward too. Is
Yep.
yeah, you can make a bunch of you can use AI to lessen your budget. You can
Yeah.
take on less people, but like, is that really going to make an impact in the long run?
Hmm.
I don't think so. And I think that's where athletes certainly excel, is being
Yep.
able to find that human connection, become storytellers, and provide the work ethic. Provide the work ethic and heart. Like, nothing can beat that.
And most of the time they're used to working in a team. Like, they
Yeah.
understand how to work with other people. And I think that for like a common goal, like that's the whole benefit of an athlete, right? Like, if you don't understand how to work with the person next to you, it's because you've never been in a team setting.
Yeah.
So,
How would you encourage athletes who have not been in a team setting? Maybe this is a hard question since you've always been in team sports, but like individual athletes, how do they hone their skills to become
well,
a team player?
I think that's a little different because I also think they've been in teams. Even
Yeah.
if you're an individual athlete, right? At the collegiate level, like track athletes, usually you're working towards a team score. You might be the one running the race, but like you should be cheering on the thrower, because
Right.
ultimately if the thrower doesn't score high, your team's not going to get X amount of points for the team total. And there's like also in those settings, especially in college, like academically, your team GPA matters too, and that's on everyone. So again, like think about those aspects around you that are team centric, and how do you tap into those to hold each other accountable? Because ultimately, those teams still have captains.
Yeah.
Like it's not just one captain. Like you have a set of captains for your entire team. They might be from different areas. Same thing. Like I worked with men's gymnastics. Their individual like effort goes towards a team score.
Yeah.
I love working with men's gymnastics. Fun. They're so positive and cheerful for each other, where they're just like hyping each other up every time they do a routine. They stick the landing. Like they understand the value of their teammates' success. And I think
Yeah.
that's the best way to like phrase it is like, even if you're in an individual sport, understand the value of your teammates' success.
Yeah, I think that's the key. That was the answer for anyone listening who's like an individual athlete, but they're interviewing for their next role. Like, that's the answer. That's how you explain your value and how you can work with the team, even though you were maybe a golfer or a tennis player or a gymnast or a track athlete.
Mm-hmm.
That was perfect, Jocelyn. There it is again. I'm so sorry. Old habits die hard, like I said. So, a couple more questions for you, just rapid fire. I know we're at time, but you were a captain for the team at Central. So, I would just like to know how you define leadership differently now than when you were on the court.
So funny story about that. I was a captain. I was a team voted captain that actually gave up my captaincy. I don't know if you know that.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So because of like a lot of the stuff we talked about at the beginning, I was super overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And I literally was like, I don't think this is a good idea. And the coaches were like, really? And I was like, yes. Like, I don't think this is a good idea. Like, I need to focus on myself to
Yeah.
be the best for the team. And they were like, okay. And like, so that's what happened. But honestly, I think that like you didn't know that. So like I don't think a lot of people know that.
Yeah.
But in that situation, it was the best decision for my personal performance and my like mental health and like mental load, that I think sometimes that's being a leader in and of itself. You know what I mean?
100%.
Like
Yeah.
if you can't perform at the best of your ability, and like that day, like your best of your ability can be different every day, right? But like if you're going to be put in a situation that's a detriment to your performance for the team and for the success of the team, reevaluate that self and like put your pride in the corner. Like
Mhm.
this is ultimately about the team's success and the team's winning. And I do think that's something that like gets lost in our culture a lot, is the personal pride. Even in like in most teams, honestly, like the best teams understand each other's value, even if there's a star. Like they know that like person X is like the guy, and like maybe person Y was the guy in high school, but they know the value that like X needs this amount of publicity. I heard a really great comment the other day, unfortunately watching the Ohio State Penn State game. Not great for the Nittany Lions. But for Ohio State, um, they have two stud wide receivers. And the one was a freshman last year who was like the best wide receiver in the nation. And he's having like quote unquote a down year, right? They were talking to him during the media call, and they were like, how are you like feeling about this? And he's like, we don't even have like a rivalry with each other. Like we understand that if we push each other and that both of us are performing at our peak like output, that's what matters. Like
Yeah.
ultimately at the end of the day, they knew that if their teammate was succeeding, the team was going to win. There's a reason they're a number one team in the nation. They like, you have your elite players with that sort of mindset, you can't
Yeah.
lose. Like you literally can't lose. Like if your like quote unquote diva wide receiver isn't a diva, and understands the value of his teammate also getting the targets and the touchdowns, which then opened him up against Penn State, the number one guy from last year, he went off because they were
Yeah.
so focused on the other guy. Like, it's that simple. Like, I don't want to call it simple, but honestly, like, if you're like, I can put my ego in the corner for the success of this program, that's buy-in, and that's how you know you're going to be good.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect definition. And I think it just shows that it was the right decision to make you the captain of that team, because you also were able to reflect and be honest and say, maybe this isn't the best situation for me or the team right now, and to take a step back. And I think I really respect that, Jocelyn. I did not know that before you told me that. And I think that's very cool. Like, and especially for having the maturity of a collegiate athlete at times. Like that is like,
I don't know how mature I actually was, but I was I can't do this.
That's a big decision though, like putting the ego aside. And I really respect it. And it's cool that you've seen that play out throughout your career too, in storytelling with these other athletes. And yeah, I think it speaks to the maturity of athletes, the things you have to go through, putting the team before yourself. Really, really, really strong.
Yeah. It's
I love
like,
it.
I didn't like elaborate on that because like ultimately in corporate, there's gonna be the divas, there's gonna be those people, but ultimately if you find your pod of people who understands and follows you, it'll lead you all to better success. Like no matter, like good leaders will see that, and that's how how you end up elevating.
How do you encourage people to deal with the divas that they see in corporate? Loaded question, I know.
Yeah, like have your people, and just know they're going to exist everywhere, honestly, because like if you have your people, the outside noise doesn't matter. It might like impact you in a single situation or an overall situation, but don't let it ruin your day. Don't let it ruin your career. Let it just be that moment. And if there's a situation to address that person or like have the conversation, they might not know that. Or if there's something you can like straight up tell is like, yeah, no, don't waste time and effort outside what you need to.
Yeah.
It's way better for your mental health. It's way better for your like enjoyment of work.
Yeah.
If like, you're thinking about them all the time, well, that's not great. No one wants that. So yeah, honestly, like value your own time and put it where it needs to go and deal with them as needed.
Yeah, as needed. I think it's like, yeah, case by case situation. I'm a big proponent of like, you're going to have difficult people around you no matter where you are. Like changing jobs, roles, titles, companies isn't going to necessarily change the fact that you might have to deal with difficult people.
Yep.
And so it's like, just take it as a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
Like every opportunity you can learn something, and until it's really impacting you like mentally and it's like ruining your life, then maybe there's a different conversation. But it's like, you can learn a lot from dealing with difficult people, I think.
Yeah. And also like maybe find out why they're being difficult. Like, is it an expectation they have or they've been given and now they have a standard that they're upholding and that's why they're like this? Or is it more of like that's where they grew up? Like they grew up in their career and that's how they learned to lead from someone else, and maybe they don't know a different way and you can expose them to a different way of leading. There's a lot of like, you don't know their backstory unless you do, then you kind of deal with it as you deal with it. But if you don't know their backstory, find it out, see if there's an opportunity for change.
Yes, being curious, it goes so far. It goes so far. Like,
so far,
man, it's so easy to make assumptions and be like, this person sucks, they're an asshole, or like whatever it is. But it's like, maybe they just need you to ask them more questions. Like maybe they just, I don't know. It's just like, be curious, see what you can find out, and then make the judgment, I guess.
Exactly.
Jocelyn, it's been really wonderful having you. I know we are getting very close to, we need to end this stream so you can get onto your workday. But I have one final question for you. It's how I end every single podcast in honor of the name of the show, Changing the Game. I just would like to know what changing the game means to you, whether that's professionally or personally.
Yeah, I think changing the game is kind of what we were just talking about. Flip the script. If something's bothering you, if someone's bothering you, ask those questions, be curious, because it goes to AI, right? Same thing we were talking about there. If you're not curious on how to use it, you're not utilizing tools to the best of your advantage. Be curious with the people in your life, be curious with all of the opportunities before you. And honestly, that'll go really far in a lot of things, because I don't think there's enough curious people these days. I think there's a lot of people who just follow or listen, but they're not willing to ask the questions. And there's asking questions without like doing it in a defiant way. It's asking questions to know why and be better.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you so much, Jocelyn, for the advice and the amazing storytelling. Where can our listeners connect with you on LinkedIn? Jocelyn Disque, right?
Yes, it's Jocelyn Vervelde Disc with my maiden name in there. I think it's / Jocelyn Vervelde 1.
Love it.
It is.
Jocelyn Vervelde. That's how I know you as. So
It's a mouthful. It's a mouthful.
I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you everyone for listening. I will catch you next week. Thank you for coming on and changing the game with us.
Thanks, Jordan.